Welcome to the Daily Injection Program. This is March 18th, and what we're doing throughout the coronavirus crisis outbreak pandemic is we're going to have at least one show a day, a daily injection of wealth, information, of knowledge, education, semi insights on what's going on. The sole goal of this program is to make sure that it gives you some insights as to what's happening right now, what should you be looking at, and what just happened. So, literally, breaking news, general good practices and what to do, and then some insights that will follow this for the rest of our lives, probably. This is a 5 to 10 minute blitz. Hopefully, it doesn't reach over 15 minutes if I have a lot to talk about. And the most important part is that you make sure that you go to wealthresearchgroup.com/V1 and /virus for the full updates on this, because it includes charts and graphs and what's happening around the world on a daily basis. So I want to jump right into it. And first of all, talk about information. So a company sent two top salesmen to the continent of Africa not long ago, and with the purpose of opening up a giant shoe opportunity, selling shoes. The one salesperson, called his boss, called the CEO. He was back a day later. He said, "Look, I know you're the boss, you're the chief, but you have to hear me out on this. No one's wearing shoes in Africa. There's nothing to do here. I'm back at HQ. I'm going to continue selling shoes here in Europe." The other person doesn't call for a week, and then the boss calls him. He says, "What's happening?" And he says, "Oh my God, there's no one that wears shoes here. We can sell shoes to everyone. There's a giant opportunity." So here you see a classic case of two people sent to do the same mission, and they couldn't be more polar opposites. And that's what's happening right now with coronavirus. There are minimalists and there are maximalists. There are conspiracy theorists and there are ones that trust the government fully. There are people that choose not to learn anything, and there are people that choose to learn everything. And so, when you talk to other people, just make sure you put them in one of these baskets or buckets, because this doesn't have to be an event that causes a lot of friction. In fact, what we want to do is we want to sort it out so we can get back to normalcy as fast as we can. So I want to talk a little bit about data, because that's what I love, data-driven reports. The one thing is, we already know this is worse about 10 times in terms of the lethality than seasonal flu. So we know it's more lethal, and therefore make sure that you do whatever you need to do to protect yourself. But literally, good health is the best medicine right now. Keep your sleep well, eat and drink well, breathe well, wash your hands as the health recommendations, and I simply follow them. I don't do anything else differently for now. Now, China has just announced that they're reopening the sport leagues. So whatever happened in China, in Wuhan, was contained, and they're actually fining sport players, professionals, if they don't want to return and finish the season. So whatever happened in China, we're going to see a big return to normalcy, and you're going to see a spike in everything that has to do with their economy really soon. They probably avoided even a recession. So that's big data and big news. You also see that in Britain, where they chose to just relax, you don't see ICUs filled with patients. You don't see a lack of hospital beds and all that kind of stuff. So remember that these are great case studies for to diverge between calling it a pandemic, which sounds awful, and what it really is. So just make sure you also understand that this will be with us for weeks, but we have to loosen up and talk about this rationally, because what we've done is we've just manhandled all of this and shut down our economies. That's what we've done. We've shut down our economy, and now we're gonna need to start discussing whether or not it was worth it and what will be coming out on the other side of that. So I want to talk about the next part. So now you have the data, right? I want to talk about leadership. What should you do? First of all, be the man in the house. I don't mean that in terms of of your gender. I mean, in terms of like a phrase, be responsible. Don't fool around with it and don't go overboard. Just be disciplined and understand that this is a period. Many people throughout history go through periods that are out of their control. Probably in our lifetimes, we will go through these global events, like 9/11 was a global event, like the global financial. These are captivating to the entire world, basically, anyone that has media. And, be a person that now does more. Be a better father, better parent in general, a better mother. I mean, be a better son or daughter. Be a better friend. Be a better worker. A lot of people right now need to do far more to justify their pay, to justify what they're doing, so that they don't become that disposable to their companies, to their employers. Avoid the minimalist, maximalist debate, in my opinion, because just it's a better practice to avoid any friction if you don't have to do it. And why would you, right? Now, I want to talk about a little bit about what you can do proactively, and one of these things is called masterminding. So take a few of your peers that you do appreciate their input, and send them a couple of videos, 3, 4 videos from sophisticated people, from the CDC, from the world, from good bloggers, not media type bloggers, but health science type bloggers, science driven videos, and ask them what do they think about. Let's create the situation where we finally have this on a rational level and not an emotional level. I think that's very important, especially with what's happening in the markets. And lastly, remember, the media is absolutely having a field day with this. I have not seen anything that comes close to what they've been able to do in terms of their revenue and ads and everything like that. Google's probably hiring right now, and I know Facebook is not sacking people at all. The amount of media that's out there and has an incentive to keep putting this in our faces is huge, just huge. Remember that it's an industry, and you're going to keep seeing it. Okay, so we talked about leadership, and the last thing about leadership is health. Make sure you get the best breakfast, lunch, and dinner that you can, or whatever your practices are. Sleep well, and if in your country you can, get some fresh air, as I do. Thirdly, I want to talk about what's happening right now with incomes. So your income may have been greatly affected by this, and I want you to know that there are great avenues for freelancers. So Upwork.com, or just Google the best freelance sites, and many people around the world are ready to hire on the spot, snap like that. You can be working for $50 to $100 an hour with very basic skills. People need freelancers in this world, pandemic or not, because they don't have the time to do what they need to get done. Many people earn $250, $300 an hour, and they need to pay someone $25, $50 an hour. This actually may be a time for you to find a better job than you currently have. So that's one thing. Some avenues are Upwork.com, Fiverr, but just Google that, and you'll start seeing that. Okay. Secondly, if you have big ideas, because this will bring some big ideas to the surface. Wearable clothing that will get some input on your physiques and health situation. There's going to be, I'm just throwing out ideas that are happening as we speak right now. Obviously, Italy will need to revive itself as a touristic capital. So many opportunities there as well. And then investments. Okay, so nothing has changed. Cash is just a great asset to have at any time. Now, the more markets get expensive, as Warren Buffett did, the more you need to have cash on hand. Why? Because everything, no matter if it takes 2, 3, 4 years, everything has an expiry date, including bull markets. And we don't know how long this one would have lasted without the COVID-19. But what we do know is that stocks are either overvalued or fairly valued or undervalued. They spend very little time on our planet being undervalued because there's so much information out there that immediately prices at least become fair. So that's why Warren Buffett himself changes strategy. He does not look for undervalued opportunity. He looks for fairly valued opportunities at present, because if this company is growing, it's fairly valued compared to the present, but certainly not compared to its bright future. And that's what he focuses on. And that's basically my bread and butter as well. So cash, obviously look for overblown fears. Many blue chip companies are trading at multiples of PE ratios that bankrupt companies trade at. And literally look for our Sunday report. So that this upcoming Sunday, when we talk about this, I think it'll be the 22nd. I'll have a list, my personal shopping list for this. And if you haven't seen the 16 principles that I like to follow, my religion, basically, go to wealthinstitute.com/me, M-E, and you can download that. Those are my guidelines in life. Pandemic, routine, normalcy, whatever. That's the way I choose to live my life. Okay, thirdly, about investments. There are many industries that are not stopping. So private lending platforms like Peer Street, Lending Club, etc., provide income right now. If you're a retiree, you need income. And then the Chinese recovery. In 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, we're going to start seeing data out of China that they've recovered. That's great for the global economy, because they're obviously about 18 to 20% of global GDP. Lastly, I want to talk about drastic measures. So yesterday I put up the first daily injection program. An hour later, literally, Steve Mnuchin announced helicopter money. So we're there. That's it. Every American citizen that is there's probably gonna be some qualifications for this, but probably everyone's gonna get ka-ching, a check in the mail. I bet half of Americans are already, not half, but certainly everyone who's learned the news is already thinking what he's going to spend it on. So a lot of stimulus in there. They've punted the income tax for 90 days. So basically, if you owed money on April 15, you could pay it until July 15. That gives people 3 months to basically move their money around before they have to pay it. And many people will choose to do so because it will be without penalty and without interest. Now, the dollar is literally becoming such a loved asset class. When you sell anything, oil, gold, stocks, you get dollars. So dollars are so technically overbought right now. With interest rates plummeted to zero in the US literally now, as President Trump likes to say, they're at par with their competition. I don't know if that's good or not, because when you're in par with your competition, you have no competitive advantage. What he was looking for is to even the playing field, because what he has in mind is he wants to refinance the entire national debt 50 to 100 years ahead with no interest payments on them. So I get where he's coming from. Where you and I come from is that now the dollar has no special value to us because it offers no higher interest rates. If you're a bond investor, if you're a pension fund, etc., you will need to start diversifying out of that. So that is a big deal. Now, secondly, in a fiat monetary system, to solve any crisis, all you do is paper it over with new debt. So you see a deflation of debt, you deleverage, and then you reflate the debt and you get going again. That's the way it is. There's always going to be a sacrificial lamb for this until the reset comes. So, and there's definitely going to be a reset. Who knows? I may be 50 or 60 or 70 when the reset comes. The global economy is far more resilient than anyone imagined. In 1980, before I was even born, people were saying, hey, hoard your gold and cash. Do not touch stocks anymore. Grave mistake. And look, there's two economies. There's the deficits and the federal debt hole. And then there's the private sector. The private sector is phenomenal. Companies in the U.S. are growing at 6 to 8 to 10% a year. Cash machines, they are the best businesses on the planet. They solve problems for us constantly every day. And right now with the pandemic, you can see how important well-run companies are, and entrepreneurs, how important they are to the world. Just a breed of themselves. They're so imaginative and innovative. Now, the government needs to deal with many things that are outdated. Um, and I won't get into it in this discussion, but definitely there's a big problem with deficits around the world, and it won't become a burning issue until we get inflation. So that's the next step. We need to think about what's happening with inflation going forward. And then let's talk about the Fed lastly. So the Fed right now is out of the game. Like I said yesterday, lowering interest rates to zero has now put the Fed in a situation where the only thing they can do basically is permanent QE. And so you're going to start seeing the government doing much more in order to stimulate the economy. The next 10 years, so between 2020 and 2030, the governments will be the ones saying, okay, we have a new treat for you. We have a new candy for you. This state or this region will be an opportunity zone. These people will get a tax break. If you buy land in here, you won't pay taxes for 4 years. Here's where we want to put more people employed. You will see many fiscal stimulus programs. This is just the start of it. So just put that in mind. This is the way the world is going to work from here on. Central banks have done their part for 10 years. They're now going to get marginalized. Remember that. I've gone over the 15-minute mark, and I want to do another one tomorrow where we talk about many important information. Go to wealthresearchgroup.com/V1 and wealthresearchgroup.com/virus. Now, remember, silver is trading at 12-year lows on the paper markets. I've had an interview yesterday with Lynette Zhang, a bullion dealer in the United States. You should definitely check that interview out because she talks about the shortages, when you're going to get your physical gold and silver, and what she thinks about this ratio. I've also put a special report together at wealthresearchgroup.com/rally about the gold silver ratio, and wealthresearchgroup.com/gold playbook. Now, I know I talk about these special reports and links, and that's just because I appreciate people that like to do further due diligence. And that's the best way I've found to give people that platform. You go to that URL, you download the report, you have it, and you can do it what you will with it on your own time. And that's how I like it. So definitely let's touch base tomorrow, March 19th. And if there's any urgent updates to do later on in March 18th, I will put another daily injection program. So good day to everyone. Stay safe and stay healthy.